This presentation covers an explanation of Assessment Section 2. Before viewing this presentation, make sure you have seen a Guide to Assessment Section 1 and work through the first part of the assessment, as this part builds on the feedback from your earlier work. In an earlier presentation on an overview of the assessment, we saw that there were 4 sections to the assessment, and in this presentation we will focus on Section 2. The second assessment task is production with guidance from the module tutor of a learning contract which records and maps agreed work-based activities against learning outcomes. The pass criteria for this section is production of an agreed learning agreement, ability to record and map learning derived from work experiences, and the ability to track performance and achievement against goals set out in the learning agreement. The rest of the presentation provides some advice about how to go about this second task. The first piece of advice is, if you haven't done so already, to view a separate presentation called Characteristics of a Learning Agreement. If necessary, leave this presentation now and return to it once you have viewed it, as the next sections of this presentation will then make more sense. From the presentation mentioned in the previous slide on learning agreements, the 4 main elements were what the learner needs to do, that is, a list of agreed objectives, what strategies and resources the learner needs in order to achieve the objectives, what the learner needs to produce to show that learning has been successful, and timescales to achieve these objectives. The starting point of the learning agreement for this module is the list of PDP activities that were produced for Section 1. From this list, some of the activities will form part of the learning agreement through a selection process that will involve negotiation between the tutor and the student, and will be based on a number of factors such as the scale of the activity in terms of effort by the student to describe the activity, the potential of the activity as a learning opportunity. For instance, did the activity involve innovation, or was a standard operating procedure followed? The availability of evidence supporting the activity, in terms of concrete examples and artifacts to back up the learner's claims. The nature of the activity, in terms of confidentiality or commercial sensitivity. For instance, can this activity be discussed outside the company? The currency of the activity, that is, how recently was it performed? The alignment of the learning from the activity to Level 4 learning. For some of these factors, the tutor will have more input, and for other factors, the learner will have more to say. Hence the need for negotiation and agreement. Based on the selection factors mentioned in the previous 2 slides, a list of activities will be drawn up. The precise nature of the format of the learning agreement will be bespoke for each learner. The headings for each activity will be similar to that drawn up for Section 1, activity title, activity description, etc. However, to this will be added goals for the learner to explore in more depth the learning that has occurred and align that learning with Level 4 learning. Each goal will be related to the particular activity and a timescale agreed for completion of that activity. The learning agreement can be drawn up as a Word document in the first instance and submitted for informal feedback from the tutor through the e-portfolio or by email in a manner discussed at the end of Assessment 1. Once the Section 2 part of the assignment has been completed, the learner can then begin on Section 3, and this will be the subject of the next presentation.